Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I pray everyone is doing well. Today I wanted to cover a topic that affects all of us, including me. I think in this day and age, more so, living in this country as well, I'd say, we are affected by this more than anyone. And that is the love of the dunya, the distraction that we get from the dunya. And I don't just mean the enjoyments, but even the things that we are obligated to do, provide for our families, spend time with our families, spending on our families. All of these things are good things that we should do, but often we are distracted by it. Because this is also dunya. Our families are dunya. Our jobs are dunya. Our interaction with our friends, even when we speak, it's all part of the dunya. Even though it's not haram, it's still part of the dunya. And often we are distracted by this. All of us are distracted by this, especially in a society where everything is about how do we attain more wealth, how do we attain more enjoyment, more desires. If you think about your day to day, majority of your day is either if you're young, you're at school, trying to get an education to get a good job. If you're older, you have a job, but you're trying to, doing the hours in your taxis and you're working on even if you're behind your desktop working, maybe you go out to the office. What are you doing? You're accumulating wealth, right? This is what becomes the biggest focus of our day is wealth, is dunya. No doubt. Am I wrong? Am I wrong in saying this? Most of us, a majority of our time is about how do we accumulate more wealth. And the reason why the reason why we're all affected by this is that everyone thinks like this. Even this country itself it's a Western country, a capitalistic country. The way they view the man and the woman, the way they view people is based on, and the value of a person is based on how much productivity he can give the economy. The woman is viewed not based on how much tarbiyah and how much education she can give her children. She's not valued based on this. She is valued on how much she can give to the economy. How can she work? How can both the man and the woman work so that they can give to the economy? This is the view of the capitalist system. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that we should prioritize not the dunya. We should prioritize the akhirah. And we have two lives, right? And the brother in one of the khutbahs in the previous week spoke about how the real life that Allah is speaking about is not this life. The real life, the actual life is the akhirah. But we only have two lives. This life here and the akhirah. And the key difference between the two is that one is temporary. It will come to an end. It's limited. 70, 80 years maybe, 90 years if you're lucky of that. And even in those ages, you're weak. You can't do the things you want to do by yourself. You need support from other people. There's not really a value, quality of life isn't the greatest even at that old age. But maximum 90, 100 maybe if you're very lucky. This is the temporary life that we have. And then you have the other life, and that is the hereafter, which is unlimited, forever. And it's our decision and our choices that we make in this life will determine whether we have a good life in the hereafter or a challenging life in the hellfire. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and He warns us of leaning towards the worldly life. He says, so turn away from whoever turns away from our remembrance and desires not accept the worldly life. And He also says that we shouldn't, the prioritization of this life over the hereafter is a characteristic of the kuffar. He says that it is they who have exchanged the hereafter for the worldly life. So the punishment will not be lightened for them, nor will they be supported. So one of the greatest dangers that affects us Muslims is that maybe we are prioritizing this life, this dunya, ahead of our actual life, the hereafter. And as I said, it's not that we're all doing haram. I'm not saying this. We're not all committing haram and doing sins. What I'm saying is maybe even in the halal, our priority is the dunya. our children's education, how do we bring enjoyment to our children? All halal. But are we prioritizing this ahead of what we need to do, our obligations, what we need to do to support our brothers and sisters who are suffering? Are we prioritizing our worldly life, above the hereafter? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, He says, why do you say when a calamity befalls you, even after you have been inflicted twice much damage, how did this happen? Say, you brought it upon yourselves. Allah has power over everything. If you do not go forth, He will punish you with a painful punishment and replace you with another people, and you will not harm Him at all. And Allah is over all things competent. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here is saying that Allah does not need us. Allah is telling us to march forth, whether that be in jihad, when the time comes, when, during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, when they were told to go forth in jihad and people would stay behind, or whether it means just in da'wah, in doing what Allah has commanded us to do. Are we there at the forefront, or are we left behind? And this is the message I really want to say to all of us, to myself included. Have we just procrastinated over our life, doing those things, preparing our nice gardens, our nice houses, buying the latest car, getting a promotion, doing nice things on the weekend for the family? Again, all halal. I'm not even saying haram here. But we're just distracted by it. That's all that matters to us. Even we got a house recently. The amount of time we waste on decorating it and making it look nice. But is this really the priority in our life? Will this even last? Or will it all turn to dust as we will turn to dust? The Messenger ﷺ advised us, he said, do not indulge in this world. Do not get so fixated on this world. And he said that he took the shoulder of one of the companions and said, be in this world as though you are a stranger or a traveler. Meaning, don't get so stuck that this will last forever, because it won't. You are just a traveler. This is just a point that you need to come from where we started from Allah. Allah has brought us here. We will be here for a moment, and then we'll go on to our actual destination, which is the hereafter. And as I said, one of the key things that really dominates us today is the system of capitalism. This system, the founder of capitalism, Adam Smith, he said that this system is all about satisfying your self-interest. So we are dominated by a system that tells us, do as you please, seek your pleasures, seek your desires. That's it, just your self-interest. But as a Muslim, this is not what only matters to Allah and to us. It's not just about our own self-interest. It's about what pleases Allah and what displeases Allah. Doing what pleases Allah, staying away from that which displeases Allah. Helping our brethren, helping our brothers and sisters that are suffering immeasurably across the world. Not just Palestine and Gaza, but in Sudan, in Yemen, now we're seeing in Pakistan, in Kashmir. All across the world, many places are, we'll be all here all day if we were to go through all of them. So we've been indoctrinated by this ideology of self-interest. It's all about myself and my family. That's it. That's all that matters. And, I have to mention it here today as well. We recently saw what has been happening in the Middle East recently with Donald Trump going out to do these visits in Qatar, in UAE, in Saudi. What did he do? He went there and the red carpet was laid out for him. Red carpet. They got his hand, they kissed his hand. Subhanallah. Who are they kissing? This man is equally responsible for the murder and destruction of our brothers and sisters in Gaza. And what are the leaders doing? Laying out the red carpet for him. Trillions of dollars, trillions, not millions, not billions, trillions of dollars of investment secured for the US, by the UAE, by Qatar, by Saudi. This is the nation who is bankrolling the genocide against your brothers and your sisters. Yet our leaders are doing what? And what is it all for? Why are they investing this? It is for the dunya. It is for the dunya, like I'm mentioning today. It's for the protection of America. Not from Allah. Not protection from Allah, protection from America. the shaitan. It is for economic investment in these countries. Because you know what? They want to diversify the economy now. They want to move away from the dependency of oil to AI and technology and these other things that they want to invest in. But at what cost? At the cost of their brothers and sisters dying across the world. They don't care. They'll look the other way. And I'll mention it as well, Syria, the Syrian leader. Everyone had high hopes for him. Everyone had high hopes. You know, Al-Julani, Ahmad al-Sharrah, he's a Muslim leader. You know, he's someone who's a fighter. What has he done? He's done the same thing. He's fallen for the trap. He is also, you know, saying how great leader Trump is and that he's happy that the sanctions have been lifted. Yeah, the sanctions may be lifted on you, but what's happening in just on your border? What's happening on your border with Israel attacking Syrian land, but also your brothers and sisters in Palestine and Gaza? This is not something we can just leave lightly. But the point I'm trying to make is, what have they prioritized? They have prioritized the dunya over the akhirah. Their own self-interest above the interest of their Muslim brothers and sisters who are suffering. And, you know, the Messenger ﷺ even informed us of a situation that the reason we'll be in this situation of, you know, have no power, we're powerless. We can't do anything. Nothing's changing, even though we're, you know, this large ummah that we have, a quarter of the world, a third of the world, but we can't do anything. And he told us it's because we will have this love of the dunya. What did he say? He said, the nations are about to call on one another against you, just as they enter to eat upon a dish. And someone asked, you know, and they'll divide, you know, they take this dish of the ummah. Imagine the ummah. And all the nations are gathering around it, taking, I want this piece, I want that piece, I want this. You know, the Nakba was yesterday, 15th of May, the anniversary of the Nakba, where that was the start of the occupation. They gather around us, including our own leaders, giving £1 trillion here, £1 billion there. And someone asked the Prophet, will it be because we will be small in number? Will it be that we were so small in number? Maybe we're so weak because we're such a small number. Because at the time they were small in number when the Prophet was saying this. And the Messenger said, no, that day you will be many, but you will be like the scum on the sea. Like the scum, you know, the weak scum. There's much of it, many of it, but no power. Purely you could just move it away like that. And Allah will remove from the hearts of your enemies the fear of you. Your enemies will no longer fear you. We have all this military power, all this money. They don't fear us. Trump is just going around demanding, extorting money from these people, saying, give me 100% of your GDP. They don't care about us. They don't fear us. And then he said, and he will cast into your hearts Al-Wahn. And someone asked, what is Al-Wahn? And the Messenger said, the love of this world and the hatred of death. Is this not the case for us? And you might feel, why do we always talk about the leaders? Okay, leaders are there. Maybe it is us that has Al-Wahn in our hearts. And maybe it is, you know, they say the leaders are the representative of their people. The leaders are a reflection of their people. Perhaps, yes, some of us do speak out against some of the, you know, the decadence we can see. But perhaps we don't talk about it enough. Perhaps we're not doing enough to replace these leaders. I don't mean here, I mean in the Muslim world. Allah does not need us, right? He doesn't need us. We need Allah. And maybe our love for the dunya is stopping us from saying enough. You know, there are certain mosques that they won't talk about the Saudi leaders. Do you know why? Because they're being funded by Saudi, the mosque. They won't talk about UAE. They know that these are traitors. But they say, look, don't say much about these, because our funds come from them. Isn't that the love of the dunya? Do the funds and wealth come from UAE and Saudi? Or do they come from Allah, Ar-Razak? They come from Allah. We speak the truth. We speak justice, regardless of the consequences. And I just want to end on a story. Really, it's a long story, so it'll take about 5 or 10 minutes, but I want to end on this story. And this story is about not being left behind and one of the companions. Because as I said, Allah doesn't need us. Allah will leave us. If we choose to stay behind, Allah will leave us to be. And Allah will replace us with a person or people who will be better than us and be deserved of His victory. And this story is the story of Ka'b ibn Malik. And this highlights how the love of the dunya can affect any of us, the best of us. Ka'b ibn Malik was not a nobody. He was one of the best companions. One of the companions who the Messenger would keep close to him. He was one of the poets of the Messenger. He would defend the Messenger. He was one of the companions, very small group of companions, who was at the Pledge of Aqaba in Medina, who gave allegiance to the Prophet. This is the story of Ka'b ibn Malik. And I'm going to have to go through it quickly because it's a very long hadith. But to paraphrase, really, Ka'b ibn Malik was he was a poor person at one point. He was part of a group of people in the masjid that would be supported by the people, as-Suffah. But he was at a stage in his life where he'd gained some wealth, and he had 2 camels, 2 rides, and he had a nice garden as well. And the Messenger said, everybody get ready for the Battle of Tabuk. The Battle of Tabuk was a long distance. Tabuk was all the way at the border of the Byzantine Syrian Empire, the Roman Empire. The Battle of Tabuk. And the Messenger months before told everyone, be ready, be prepared. This is going to be a long, hot journey. Be prepared. Get your horses ready, get your camels ready. Be prepared. Gave them a warning to every companion. 20,000 companions joined the Prophet ﷺ in this battle. He told them, be prepared. So this was at a time, this time it was in summer, or just before summer, when the fruit had harvested. The gardens had their nice fruits on. So Ka'b ibn Malik said, I was in the best position of all I've ever been. I had 2 camels, I had fruits, ripened in my garden. I was looking after my garden. He was, he was in a good place in his life in terms of wealth. And he said, I can join them. I'm a young man. I will join them when the time is ready. I'll get ready when it's closer to the time. Still a few months away. So what he did, he procrastinated. He looked after his garden. He'd go to masajid and stuff like this, but he was distracted by some of the fruits of the dunya. Literally, the fruits of the dunya. So what happened is, Ka'b ibn Malik said that the time came that the Prophet ﷺ, on the day that they were going to travel out with the 20,000 companions. And Ka'b to himself, and this is a whisper of shaitan, he said, there's that many people that are going. It doesn't matter whether I go now or a bit later, I will join them. And he said, they're probably not going to go today, they're going to go tomorrow. So then he woke up one day, went to the outside, he saw, everyone's gone. Everyone's gone. The Messenger has left with his army to Tabuk. And he looked around and said, who's left? Who was left? The people who were disabled. They had an excuse. They couldn't go, obviously. They're disabled. They have an excuse not to go to battle. And who else was left? The known hypocrites. He saw these are munafiqun. And I'm among them. That's here waiting. So then he thought to himself, maybe I'll try and catch up with them. Maybe I do. But whatever happened, shaitan whispered to him, said, nah, you're not going to be able to catch up. Maybe it's like us sometimes when it's like, maybe you should go to Fajr for a masjid to pray Jama'ah, but it's a bit late. I'll just pray at home. Shaitan's whispers. So the shaitan whispered to him, it's too late. So he thought, oh no, I'll just stay back. So he's missed. This was a command. This is a command from Allah, command from the messenger that you join the army. So the Prophet ﷺ, when he was there near Tabuk, he asked, where's Ka'b? Where's Ka'b, everyone? I mean, there's 20,000 people, but as I said, Ka'b ibn Malik was someone who was close to the Prophet ﷺ. So he's looking around, where's Ka'b gone? Not to embarrass him, he's genuinely interested, where's Ka'b? And one of the men stood up and said, he's been distracted by the dunya and his garden and his animals. This is the reason he left. And Mu'adh ibn Jabal, one of the companions, he stood up and he defended him and he said, no, don't say such a bad thing. All we know of Ka'b is good things. He's not distracted by the dunya. He's not, he hasn't fallen into error. All we know of him is good, meaning he's defending his brother. This other brother is backbiting. And interesting, in the narrations, they don't mention who it is, because obviously they don't want to shame. There's another companion, but they don't mention who it is. But Mu'adh ibn Jabal, who he's noble, he came and said, "No, with all we know of him is good." So the messenger didn't say anything; he didn't respond. So then Ka'b realized now the Muslims are returning now back to Medina. What should I say? And the reason they're returning early is, I mentioned in the previous khutbah, in Tabuk nothing happened. They got scared, they ran away. The Muslims were victorious, they came back. But it's a far distance, yeah. So the messenger is coming. He goes to the mosque to pray 2 rakat. That's the sunnah of the Prophet. Whenever he'd come back, he'd go to the Masjid Nabawi, pay 2 rakat. Pay 2 rakat. And he sat down, and everyone came to him. Those who had stayed, they came to him and made excuses. Oh, this problem, that problem, all of these problems, why we couldn't join you. And the messenger, as he takes it for what they say. Allah knows best. He forgave them, said, "May Allah forgive you," and just let them go. Now it was Ka'b's turn to come and explain. And he came to the messenger and he sat with the messenger, and the messenger was smiling, but like a bit of an angry smile. I don't know how to explain it. Like the narration say he had a bit of an angry smile, looking at him like, what's happened here? And he asked Ka'b, he said, what stopped you? What stopped you from joining us? And in his head, Ka'b was thinking, before he joined, he's thinking, what excuse am I going to make? But when it came to the time, he said, I can't, how can I lie to the Prophet ﷺ? How can I, even if I do lie, Allah will expose me. So he said to the Prophet ﷺ, I've got no excuse. In fact, I was in the best position ever. I had 2 camels. I had all the wealth I needed to join you. But because I was distracted by the dunya, I was distracted by my garden, I didn't join you. I was left behind. So again, to cut a long story short, the messenger said, that the Muslims cannot talk to you for 50 days until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decides what is your decision, what will happen to you. So this was a sad time for Ka'b, because he was a prominent Sahabi, and no one talked to him. The Muslims excommunicated him. And then some of his family came to him and said, why don't you go back to the messenger and just make some excuse up? Make some excuse to say, oh, this is the reason you didn't, and maybe he will forgive you. And he was close to doing it. Then he asked them, he said, who else is in my position? Not a hypocrite, but they've got no excuse. And they mentioned there's 2 other people. And these 2 other people, who were they? They were people who fought in the Battle of Badr. And he said, either I can be among them, who are Badriyun, the people of Badr, that Allah has put them at such a status, or I can be among the hypocrites who lie. And he said, no, I'm not going to lie. I'm just going to have to wait. So he waited and he waited and he waited for this time. Time is he's going to the bazaar and no one's talking to him. He's going to Salah, no one's really responding to him because they've been commanded. And then another commandment came that he needs to leave his, not divorce, but separate from his wife. So his wife had to go back to her parents' house. Meaning, imagine the situation, 50 days, it's not a small amount of time. No one's talking to him. And then, as I said, there's more to it. But then the time came, 40 days passed, 50 days passed now. 50th day, he's on top of a roof after Fajr, and a voice came to him and said, shouting, glad tidings, Ka'b, glad tidings, Allah has forgiven you. And basically, Allah had revealed in the Quran that He has forgiven not just him, but the three companions. And everyone came to him, congratulating him, hugging him, saying, Allah has spoken about you and forgiven you. And then eventually he went to the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ spoke to him, and he asked the Prophet, did you forgive me, or did Allah forgive me? And he said, no, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forgiven you. Rejoice, this is the best day of your life. The best day of your life. So even the Prophet ﷺ was happy for him, and they were all happy for him. And he said after that, he said, after this day I didn't miss any battle. And he never missed a battle after that. No excuse, nothing, never missed a battle. And after that day, he only spoke the truth. Because it was the truth that saved him. The shaitan was whispering to him, make up a lie, make up a white lie. It doesn't matter, He didn't lie. He stayed on the truth. And it was the truth that, granted him the repentance of Allah. So to bring it to an end, I realize I've gone over a little bit. Just some important lessons, as just to wrap it around, we are distracted by the dunya. All of us, myself included, we're looking for the next promotion, looking for the next job, How do I have a nicer house? How do I decorate my house? How do I have the next nice car? All of us are distracted by this. But recognize that this isn't our purpose in life. These are all temporary, these are all fleeting, these will all come to an end like dust. The only thing that matters is the akhirah. And something that this story teaches us that don't procrastinate, don't be left behind. The genocide is occurring in Gaza. What are you doing? What am I doing? This event, Allah will help them. They are shuhada. But we will be asked, what did we do? Their situation will come to an end soon, inshallah. But Allah will ask us, what did you do? Did you just sit back and focus on your dunya, focus on your job, focus on your family, and do nothing? We will be accountable, no doubt. And also the next lesson is be honest with yourself, with others, with Allah. Don't make excuses. That is the first step to change. Being honest with ourselves. Do we need to make a change? Do we need to do something differently? That is the first step. When we recognize we need to make a change, then we can think about what change do we need to make. And finally, Allah is all forgiving, the most merciful. Maybe our past, we have done errors, done sins, not done what we needed to do. But that doesn't matter. You're alive now, you still have the opportunity. We all have the opportunity. Make the change. Do something different. Seek repentance from Allah. Allah will surely forgive us. And just to end on a quote of Ibn al-Jawzi, he said, "My son, do not let your past carelessness make you lose hope of achieving good. For many people have come back to wakefulness after a long sleep." Maybe we have been asleep, but today is the day to wake up. وأقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. جزاك الله خير.